topic for today's session is how to first time implement Indian accounting standards in an entity and then comply with the same on continuing basis. So first of all, I would like to wish everyone on the session a very happy Navratri. भगवान करे माँ की तरफ की कृपा से हम सबके जीवन में समृद्धि हो, संपन्नता हो, स्वास्थ्य हो, सबका मंगल हो, सबका भला हो, सबका कल्याण हो, पूरे विश्व में शांति हो, समृद्धि हो, प्रसन्नता हो, आनंद हो, मंगल हो। तो आप सभी को नवरात्रि की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं और उसके साथ में आज का सेशन शुरू करते हैं। फॉर टुडेज सेशन is little lengthy. And why it is lengthy? Because the Indian accounting standards, all put together, 39 of them, covering a wide range of the business aspects, are so voluminous कि अगर उसमें से हर एक स्टैंडर्ड के ऊपर अगर सेशन कंडक्ट करा जाए तो on every standard you will definitely need a one day, and there are certain standards where you might even require 2-3 days also to cover those accounting standards in depth. But our objective is different today. Our objective today is to understand the Indian accounting standards and how to implement them first time. I'm sure many of you who are practicing professionals, chartered accountant, cost accountants, company secretaries, who are dealing with the accounting or the financial reporting function may already be aware that progressively in our country, the Indian accounting standards are becoming mandatory. Indian accounting standards, they are becoming mandatory, and which means the companies to whom these standards become mandatory, those companies have to start preparing their accounts and start doing financial reporting which is based on the Indian accounting standards. Indian accounting standards is a global accounting language. Today more than 150 countries use IFRS, and in India we have Indian accounting standards which are adapted version of the IFRS. तो फ्रेंड्स आज का सेशन थोड़ा सा लेंदी है, लेकिन हम कोशिश करेंगे, it will be our endeavor that we still finish the session in 1 hour's time without really compromising on the contents that I have planned with you. What I intend to cover in this session today, I will tell you separately in any case. But मेरा ऑब्जेक्टिव ये है कि ये प्रोग्राम अटेंड करने के बाद आप सभी को ये कॉन्फिडेंस आना चाहिए. You should feel confident that now I can at least start delving into the Indian accounting standards because they are so voluminous. They are so voluminous because they are frighteningly voluminous. And not only they are frighteningly voluminous, even the language of some of the accounting standards is so complex that you really start wondering that whether you should go deeper into or not. But it is professional imperative today, especially if you are in the field of financial reporting or in the field of auditing, then you have no choice but to familiarize yourself with all the all the accounting standards. So friends, let's look at as to what is the purpose of this session today that we have. Number one, purpose of any business is to create value by making profit or by making profit or making profit by creating value. अब देखिए फ्रेंड्स, ये अकाउंटिंग एंड स्टैंडर्ड्स की आवश्यकता क्यों पड़ी? बिकॉज it's not that these accounting standards or the complex ones have been in existence for the centuries altogether. No, it is more of a development of last, I would say, one and a half to 2 decades, that there is a lot more emphasis on the accounting standards. And why is that so? उसका कारण समझ के लेते हैं. See, the purpose is because in good old days the businesses were small in size. Since the businesses were small in size, the owner of the business and the manager of the business was the same person. And since the owner of the business and the manager of the business was the same person, there was least possibility of any hera-fairy happening in that business. Because why should somebody do cheating with himself? And therefore, everything was okay. But over the years, the businesses have been increasing in size as much as the businesses have been becoming global, transnational, and things like that. And as a result of that, today there is a clear-cut separation between the owners of the business and the managers of the business. And therefore, since the owners and the managers today are not same of the business, there is a full possibility that there may be some wrongdoings. What full possibility? There have been umpteen number of cases in the past where they have been wrongdoing. That means the people who were at the helms of affairs in managing the company, those people did a lot of things to their own unfair advantage. Now, how do you really take care of such things? पहली बात, you cannot, just because there is a danger, you cannot decide not to expand the business. Businesses have to expand. Businesses have to grow. So what you do, you find out ways and means through which you can control it. So today, since the businesses and the owners of the business and the managers of the business are separate set of people, there is a need for good system of accounting. And which system of accounting? A system of accounting which is understood by everybody. And why everybody? Why everybody? Because unlike in the past, today in the corporates, in the companies, the investors are not from one country. They are from multiple geographies. And since they are from multiple geographies, obviously, if the accounting by different countries are done in differently, then the investors who are in different geographies will not be able to understand the financial accounts of a particular company where he or they may have invested their money. And that is how the need for the accounting standards have arisen, and that is Indian accounting standards. It in short, it is called as Ind AS. So now I would be referring it more as Ind AS than as a full form of Indian accounting standards, which is nothing but adapted version of IFRS. Now, why is this session today very lengthy? Is because the accounting standards, remember friends, are not only voluminous, not only lengthy, but they are also unduly complex and complicated. When you read the accounting standards and when you go through them, you really start wondering as to you are in business for doing the business or you are in business for keeping the accounts. That is the kind of complexity. And this is really something which all the accounting standard setting bodies of this world really have to look at, because I think there is definitely a very strong need for simplification of the accounting standards. I'm sure if we take a survey of the chartered accountants and ask them as to how many of them are confident about the Indian accounting standards, I'm not sure as to whether this percentage is going to, this survey is going to really give a very encouraging number. It will not happen. So it's kind of, it is becoming a domain of few people, and that again is bad actually, because since it is becoming a domain of few people, as a result of that, what is happening is not good for the profession. So there is a very strong need, and I would like to highlight and emphasize that the accounting standards that we have in this country, which are there globally, there is a very strong need for simplification of those accounting standards. Why? Because the business of the business is to run the business and not merely keep the accounts. Keeping the accounts is a support function. It should not become the main function. But the way the accounting standards have been prepared, it looks like that the job of the business is to keep the accounts and the business has become secondary. And that is what I thought I would share with you. So purpose of this session, friends, is not to make you expert in all the accounting standards, which of course is just impossible in a session of 1 hour. So the purpose of this this session of 1 hour is to initiate those of you who are already into it, of course, very good. But those of you who are not into it, to initiate you in the entire process of how to implement the Indian accounting standards in a company to which they have become mandatory first time, and then how to also ensure that these accounting standards are duly complied with in the subsequent years. So my mission and the objective of this program is to give you an understanding कि कौन कौन सी चीज़ें हैं, क्या क्या है जो आपको मालूम होना चाहिए to begin with, to be able to implement the accounting standards in any business for which either you may be a CFO, or you may be a CAFO, or you may be the auditor, or you may be helping that company in implementation of the accounting standards. So this is the purpose, friends, that we have for this session today. What are we going to do? We start with what is Ind AS, why Ind AS, for whom Ind AS, and by whom Ind AS. That is the first question that we would discuss. Then we would look at as to क्या क्या हमको मालूम होना चाहिए to be successfully implementing the Ind AS. Number one, we should know the current roadmap of for implementation of Ind AS in India. So the current roadmap which is brought out by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs talks about implementation of Ind AS in India in phase-wise manner. So first it's in phase-wise manner, starting with the corporates, then NBFCs, and then the banking and the insurance companies. So first we need to know as to what that roadmap is, and that is what I plan to share with you. Then friends, if you are into the implementation of Ind AS, then you also need to be aware of Schedule 3 to the Companies Act. Schedule 3 to the Companies Act, we will discuss that. There are 3 divisions to the Schedule 3 to the Companies Act. What those divisions are, what is the relevance of those divisions, that is what we need to know for the purpose of being able to implement Ind AS in our company. Then we look at, friends, framework for preparation and presentation of financial statements. Now, what is this framework? What is its importance? And I can tell you at this point in time, framework is like a lighthouse. Framework is like a foundation. And framework जहाँ ख़त्म होता है वहाँ से accounting standards चालू होते हैं. And therefore, we ought to have a very good understanding of the framework. And why do we need to have a good understanding of the framework? Because it is the framework that drives all the accounting standards. So if you understand the framework well, then your comprehension of different standards also become very easy, because these accounting standards, all 39 of them, they take inspiration, they take energy, they take motivation from the framework. So जो framework में डाला हुआ है उसके basis पर accounting standards बने हैं. So we will discuss and understand it as to what is the framework. उसके बाद में friends हम लोग देखेंगे कि what are the boundaries of Ind AS as such. That means totally कितने Ind AS हैं, and how many of them pertain to balance sheet, how many of them will pertain to P&L, how many of them will pertain to presentation, how many of those standards are absolutely mandatory to all the companies. So out of those 39 standards, which are the standards that would be applicable to each and every company in any case. And then there are certain standards, those would not be applicable to all the companies, those would be applicable only to few selected companies. So we will understand as to what those standards are, because अगर हमें ये मालूम पड़े, ये segregation हो जाए, तो हमारी understanding standards के बारे में बढ़ेगी और हमारा confidence will also improve about the standards. Then remember, friends, as far as the accounting standards are concerned, IFRS is concerned or Ind AS is concerned, there is a focus on fair value measurement, and therefore there are certain standards that would require, in case of all those companies to which these standards are applicable, those companies would require to have fair value measurement when they are preparing their accounts. So we would also understand very clearly as to which are the standards that would require application of fair value measurement. My objective behind doing all this, friends, is to help you with complete clarity about all these standards. The whole idea is of sharing this session with you of 1 hour is again the same thing. Why should everybody invent the wheel? Now that I have gone through this entire process and I have identified, why not to share all this with you so that you do not have to go through this rigmarole once again and spend months altogether, because it takes that much time. Then we would look at the formats and the contents of financial statements as per the Ind AS, and which of course are different than the financial statements that we have been preparing and using before the application of the Ind AS in India. And then we would also look at the salient features of Ind AS 1, which is on presentation of financial statements. In any case, we are covering all those aspects while we are discussing all these points that I have just spoken with you. And then we would also look at some of the salient features of the Ind AS, which is Ind AS 101, and that is first time adoption of Ind AS. So friends, this is the plan, and I thought, because I realized that it is always good to know the boundary, because when you know the boundary, it becomes easy for you to understand and comprehend कि हमें कहाँ कहाँ क्या क्या मालूम करना है. So this is the plan that we had. Now, what is it Ind AS? Why Ind AS? For whom Ind AS? And by whom Ind AS? Let us understand that. So as I said earlier, पुराने ज़माने में बिजनेसेस छोटे थे, मालिक और मैनेजर सेम एक ही आदमी था, तो इसलिए कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं थी. And that's why जो भी वो आदमी करेगा, it was perfectly fine, because in obviously, as I said earlier, a person will never cheat himself. Separation of ownership and management has taken place. The modern business model of global presence and ownership. So आज की तारीख में क्या है? आज की तारीख में businesses are spread globally. So there are companies, we all know, there are so many companies, we all know that they have operations all over the globe. And since they have operations all over the globe in so many companies, like for example, ArcelorMittal. ArcelorMittal is one company. They have operations in more than 60 countries across the globe. So if they have operations in more than 60 countries across the globe, this is just one example. You can take thousands of such examples. That means what? That means there are shareholders in ArcelorMittal which are not only from one geography but across the globe. So obviously, it would not be sufficient for ArcelorMittal to make the accounts, financial account, based on the local GAAP. It has to prepare the accounts as per the global GAAP, and which is IFRS in case of global scenario, Ind AS in case of Indian scenario. And as a result of that, there are changed expectations of owners and the stakeholders. We need to understand as to who these stakeholders are, and who these the stakeholders are, and what are their interests in any business. So friends, these are the stakeholders, typically investor, employees, lenders, suppliers and other creditors, customers, government, public at large, or public or society at large. Now these are the stakeholders that we hear every now and then. But remember that there are two more stakeholders in a business, and one is nature and second is nation. So those are also the stakeholders. Now they may not be interested in reading your financials because they can't, but as the management of a business, as the management of the business, it becomes our responsibility. And remember, that is what is happening globally today, all over the world. Everybody is laying emphasis on environment. Everybody is laying emphasis on ethics. Everybody is laying emphasis on corporate governance. And all those are because of these two stakeholders in our business, that is nature and the nation. What are the expectations of the shareholders in the changed globalized environment? Number one, achievement of the purpose. So what the shareholders or the stakeholders are expecting the managements to do is achieve the purpose of the business. And what is the purpose of the business? The purpose of the business is to create value by making profit, or make profit by creating value. So this is what is the expectation of all the stakeholders, including the shareholders. And how will I know as a shareholder whether the business is creating value or not creating value? I can know only when I get a financial numbers from the entity. Good corporate governance is another expectation. Continuous generation of lifeline of the business. That means as a shareholder, I would also like that the companies where I invest my money, those companies are continuously generating the lifeline or the oxygen, which in other words is nothing but the cash profit. So as a shareholder, as an investor, as an owner of a company, what is my expectation? My expectation is that the businesses where I put my money, those businesses must earn cash profit. I'm not interested in merely profit, because merely profit, remember, doesn't serve my purpose. What serves my purpose is the cash profit. And why the cash profit serves my purpose, it is for the simple reason, because what gives the long life to a business is the cash. Is the cash. A business can have a long life only if the business is generating cash from its operations. And if a business is not generating cash from its operations, that business will close sooner than later. And therefore, my expectation is the business where I put my money, they must generate cash profit. Transparency and continuous flow of information. So what is happening in the company? As an investor, I would like to know on a continuing basis. And that is how you have the websites and quarterly results and so on and so forth. So many things actually. So, every listed company has an obligation as per the LODR in India and across the globe as well, as per local Security Exchange Commission rules, that any company, whenever they are doing anything which is significant, they have to keep the stock markets informed, so that through the stock market, the shareholders are also getting informed. They have to keep all these informations posted on their websites, and as a result of that, the shareholders also become aware of all those developments. So there is a need for continuous flow of information and the transparency. A management which has been given the responsibility of running the company by the shareholders, they have an obligation that they must ensure that the shareholders, the stakeholders, keep getting regular information. And then of course, financial reporting has to be done in a language which is understood by everybody. So there is no point making the financial reports in a language that I don't understand. So that is the reason why you have the IFRS, because IFRS is a common language. So virtually everything is common across the all the geographies. So format उसके क्या हैं, उसकी reporting क्या हैं, disclosures क्या हैं, what are the rules for the recognition, what are the different standards, more or less they're all same. And that is why it becomes easy for anybody and everybody to understand as to what is given in those accounts. Now friends, let's look at the roadmap for implementation of Ind AS in India. So what is the roadmap for implementation of Ind AS in India? And that is what we will look at. So let's first look at the roadmap for the companies other than banks, NBFCs and the insurance companies. So the roadmap, it started in phase 1, and phase 1 के हिसाब से from 1st April 2015 or thereafter, companies could prepare the financials following the Ind AS on a voluntary basis, and that was as part of the first phase 1, and from 1st April 2015. From 1st April 2016, it has become mandatory. From 1st April 2016, it has become mandatory. Ind AS have become mandatory for companies listed, in the process of listing, on stock exchanges in India or outside India, having net worth of more than 500 crore. So all the companies whose net worth is more than 500 crore, which are either listed or in the process of getting listed, either in India or outside India, for such entities, Ind AS have become mandatory with effect from 1st April 2016. Number 1, unlisted companies having net worth of 500 crore and above are, so it's not necessary that only when you are a listed entity and you have a net worth which is more than 500 crore, then only the Ind AS will become applicable in your case. No. So even if you are not a listed company, you are a limited company, unlisted limited company, and your net worth is more than 500 crore, from 1st April 2016, Ind AS have become mandatory for you. And not only this, please remember, so जिस company को Ind AS मैंडेटरी हो जाता है, फॉर ऑल दोज कंपनीज, उनकी जो पेरेंट कंपनी है, सब्सिडरी कंपनी है, एसोसिएट कंपनी है, जॉइंट वेंचर कंपनी है, इवन इफ दीज 4 टाइप ऑफ एंटिटीज do not have the net worth of more than 500 crore, are not listed on a stock market, or are not in the process of getting listed on a stock market, even then, by virtue of the fact that these are a parent company, subsidiary company, joint venture company or associate company, Ind AS become mandatory for them effective from 1st April 2016. Now the phase 2 started from 1st April 2017, and as part of the phase 1, all the companies which were listed or in the process of getting listed inside India or outside India, having outside India, would be covered as part of phase 2. So you may not have the net worth more than 500 crore, doesn't really matter. So even if your net worth was less than 500 crore, but you were a listed company, either India or outside India, or you were not a listed company but you were a company in the process of getting listed, Ind AS became mandatory for you effective 1st April 2017. And unlisted company having net worth of 250 crore or more, also Ind AS became mandatory for them from 1st April 2017. And again, remember the same thing. Once a company, once an entity, once Ind AS become mandatory to an entity, then the parent company, subsidiary company, joint venture company, associate companies of all such entities also become liable to keep their accounts as per Ind AS. So this is the phase as far as the companies are concerned. However, there are a few things that we need to remember. In case if a company is listed on the SME platform, then even though this is a listed company, Ind AS does not become mandatory, because a company listed on the SME platform is a very small company otherwise, and therefore making Ind AS mandatory for such companies may be too much for them, and that's why companies listed on MSE platform, the Ind AS is not mandatory. Number 2, once Ind AS becomes, this is the question a lot of people ask many times, that once Ind AS becomes mandatory for an entity because of the thresholds that I have just shared with you, what if subsequently the threshold has gone below, or the company's net worth has gone below the threshold, does this company change back to the old system? And the answer is no. So once Ind AS has become mandatory for an entity, it remains mandatory forever. So there is no going back. And the companies for whom Ind AS has not become mandatory, all such entities would continue to apply the old Indian GAAP in any case. So this is, friends, the roadmap for the Indian corporates. And then of course you have a roadmap for the NBFCs also. So NBFCs का जो case है, it starts from phase 1 starts from 1st April 2018, right? So पहले 16 से चालू हुआ 500 करोड़, and उसके बाद में the companies के लिए चालू हुआ, and now from 1st April 2018, so NBFCs, whether listed or unlisted, having net worth of 500 crore or more, Ind AS has become mandatory for all such NBFCs effective from 1st April 2018. यानी कि अगर एक NBFC है और उसकी नेटवर्थ 500 करोड़ से ज़्यादा है, वो कंपनी लिस्टेड हो या लिस्टेड ना हो, doesn't really matter, from 1st April 2018 Ind AS becomes mandatory for such NBFCs. And remember the same thing as I said earlier, once Ind AS becomes mandatory for you, for an entity, is subsidiaries, is parent company, is joint venture, is associate company, to whom Ind AS may not be mandatory otherwise, but by virtue of Ind AS becoming mandatory for such an entity, Ind AS also becomes mandatorily applicable to all the parents, subsidiary, joint venture and the associate companies of such an entity. That is applicable in case of NBFC also. And for the NBFC phase 2 starts from 1st April 2019. So from 1st April 2019, all the NBFCs whose equity and or debt securities are listed or are in the process of listing on any stock exchange in India or outside India and having net worth less than 500 crore. So the phase 1 was for the NBFCs having a net worth of more than 500 crore, and phase 2 is for the entities whose net worth is less than 500 crore. Ind AS becomes mandatory for them effective from 1st April 2019. NBFCs that are unlisted having net worth of 200 crore or more but less than 500 crore. So that means basically NBFC whose net worth is more than 250 crore, to them also Ind AS becomes mandatory effective from 1st April 2019. And remember the same thing. So once Ind AS becomes applicable to an entity, the subsidiary company, the parent company, the joint venture company, the associate companies by default also become liable for keeping their accounts as per the Ind AS. Now, a question that can come to your mind: can the indices be made applicable by an entity on a voluntary basis? Not anymore. It was fine 1st April 2015, not anymore. So today an entity can start keeping their accounts as per the Ind AS only if the Ind AS has become mandatory to such an entity as per the roadmap that I have just discussed with you. Voluntarily, an entity cannot go for Ind AS application. For being able to successfully implement Ind AS, we also need to have a good understanding of Schedule 3 to the Companies Act. And friends, I will very strongly recommend that you must read this Schedule 3 because this Schedule 3 will give you a lot of insight. Now, this Schedule 3 has got 3 divisions, and what these 3 divisions are. So the division 1 is applicable to a company whose financial statements are required to comply with the accounting standards, that means old Indian GAAP. Division 2 covers the entities where companies whose financial statements are to be drawn up as per the Ind AS. And division 3 talks about the non-banking financial companies, so non-NBFCs primarily, to whom the Ind AS has become mandatory. So it will be very useful for you to go through Schedule 3 and look at not only Division 2 and 3 but also Division 1, because that will give you a complete perspective as to what are the provisions as far as the indices are concerned in the Companies Act, in the Schedule 3. So this is what I would very strongly recommend. What these schedules or these Division 2 and Division 3 of Schedule 3 will tell you? Number 1, they will tell you the format of the P&L, the format of the balance sheet that has to be used by the companies to whom Ind AS has become mandatory, and it will also give you the instructions and the definitions or different terms and line items used in the P&L and the balance sheet. So this is the information that you will understand from the reading of Schedule 3, which I very strongly recommend that all of us should do. Now let's friend come to framework for preparation and presentation of financial statements. As I said in the beginning, framework is the base, is the foundation. Framework is like lighthouse. Framework guides the accounting standard setters. Framework guides the accounts writers. Framework guides the auditor. So the framework that we are talking about is a lighthouse. It is the mother document. It is a document that provides guidance to everybody who is concerned with the accounting standards, and therefore we have to have a good understanding of the framework. But remember, it's not too large. It's not that it is voluminous. Fortunately, not so. So what are the issues, key issues as far as the understanding of framework is concerned? Number 1, we need to understand what is framework. And as I said, what is framework? It is the basis, it is the foundation, it is the lighthouse which will guide all concerned with the accounting standards, the accounting standard setters, the writers and the auditors. What is the purpose and the role of the framework? The purpose and the role of the framework is to provide guidance, to all concerned, and also to let everybody know the purpose of the accounting standards. Who are the user of the financial statements? It talks about objective of financial statements. Remember friends, I can tell you at this point in time, what is the objective of the financial statements? The objective of the financial statements is everyone who is concerned with the financial statements of an entity, because he has to take an economic decision. He should be able to, by use of the financial statements of this entity, be able to take an economic decision about that entity. Meaning what? meaning from the balance sheet he should be able to ascertain the financial position of the company. From the profit and loss he should be able to ascertain the financial performance of the entity, and from the cash flow statement he should be able to ascertain the company's ability to take care of his financial obligations going forward. So this is the objective of the financial statements. And friends, अगर ये आप अपने सिस्टम में अगर बिठा लेंगे तो मैं आपको बोल सकता हूँ कि आपकी preparation and implementation of Ind AS in the entity where you may be interested will become very easy, because it becomes the guiding force. So जब भी आपको कोई confusion होगा कि ये इसको लेना चाहिए कि नहीं लेना चाहिए, you will be guided by the framework. You will be guided P&L की क्या ज़रूरत है. P&L की ज़रूरत ये है कि P&L से user of the financial statement should be able to figure out कि what is the financial performance of the business. तो अगर ये इन्फॉर्मेशन को मैं इंक्लूड करता हूँ या नहीं करता हूँ तो क्या ये पर्पस यूज़र का सर्व होगा. अगर यूज़र का ये पर्पस रिगार्डिंग द फाइनेंशियल परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ द एंटिटी सर्व नहीं होगा, इसका मतलब आई हैव टू take the decision accordingly. That means I need to ensure that this information is included in the manner which will help the user to take that decision. So this is the objective of the financial statements and also the objective of the framework, so that आपको guidance मिले कि क्या आपको include करना चाहिए, क्या include नहीं करना चाहिए. See, the accounting standards are so voluminous. Everything is given there. Everything is given there quite comprehensively. But more than that, what is required is we to have the understanding as to what information has to come and what information has not to come. And if we apply this framework, it becomes very easy for us to figure that out. What are the qualitative characteristics of financial statements? We would look at them. Underlying assumptions of the financial statements, and these are two statements, so accrual system and the cash accounting system. So those are the two assumptions which are part of the framework. What are the elements of financial statements are given in the framework? We will discuss that. Recognition criteria of elements of financial statements is also given in the framework. And finally, the measurement criteria of elements of financial statements. So these 9 things, friends, are covered as part of the framework. फिर से बता दूं, clear कर दूं. I am sure that this will help you कि framework क्या है. Framework is the foundation. Framework क्यों है? So that it will guide you. It will guide whom? It will guide the account setters. It will guide the account writers. It will guide the account auditors. It will also help all of them in interpretation of the accounting standards. So whenever there is a confusion about any of the clauses of any of these standards, the framework will guide you as to what it should be. And how the framework will guide you, remember, as I said earlier, and I'm repeating for the purpose of better clarity, the framework will guide you. Give framework, what guidance it will give you. It will tell you why the account, why the standards, why the accounts, so that the people are able to take decision. What decision? About the profit and loss. What about the profit and loss? Whether this profit and loss tells me about the financial performance of the company or not. Balance sheet, whether this balance sheet tells me about the financial position of the company or not. Cash flow statement, whether this cash flow statement tells me about the ability of the business to take care of the financial obligations going forward. So this is, friends, is the broad structure of the framework. I am sure you will definitely be able to appreciate this. For your information and benefit, all these sessions that you are attending on the Zoom are going to be uploaded on the portal of the Pimpri Chinchwad Education Trust का जो पुणे बिजनेस स्कूल है, उनके पोर्टल पर ये सारे के सारे वीडियोस अवेलेबल हैं with the PPT. So whatever I am sharing with you through the Zoom session, all these sessions are recorded and all these sessions are uploaded on the portal of the Pune Business School. So in case if you wish to revise your understanding about any of the things that we are discussing today or any of the things that we have discussed for last so many days, you simply need to visit the portal of Pune Business School and you would be able to review all these recordings with the PPTs afresh anytime as per your convenience. As a matter of fact, friends, I would also request you at this point in time that not only you visit this portal by yourself, but also share that link with all your friends and colleagues who also would be able to benefit from all these recordings. Now let us look at the purpose of the framework, as I was mentioning. So the purpose of the framework, number one, is it guides the authorities setting the standards. Number two, it assists those who are preparing the financial statements. Number three, it sets out the key objective of financial statements, which I have shared with you a little while ago. Number four, the framework also defines assets and liabilities and relates them to other elements such as income and expenses. So this is, friends, is the framework, the broad framework. The main objective of the financial statements I have already mentioned to you कि बैलेंस शीट का क्या मकसद है, P&L का क्या मतलब है, स्टेटमेंट ऑफ कैश फ्लो का क्या मतलब है. तो बैलेंस शीट का मतलब है so that the user of the financial statement is able to figure out how is the financial position of the business. P&L, the user of the financial statement is able to figure out what is the performance, how is the performance of the entity. And finally, the cash flow statement, the user should be able to figure out as to what is the ability of the business to take care of his financial obligations. And remember, friends, as I said, these are almost like foundation for accounting standards for the Indian accounting standards. Qualitative aspects of financial statements. So the framework not only talks about the financial statements and their objective, the framework also speaks about the qualitative aspects of financial statements. क्या मतलब है इसका? इसका मतलब ये है कि as the finance professional, as the accounting professional, when we are responsible or when we are accountable or when we are engaged in making the accounts of a business as per the Ind AS, this is what we need to remember. What we need to remember? We need to remember the 4 qualitative characteristics of the accounts. That means what? That means जिस कंपनी के मैं अकाउंट्स बना रहा हूँ, मुझे क्या देखना है? मुझे देखना है कि ये बिजनेस में 4 चीज़ें हैं, कि अकाउंट्स में 4 चीज़ें हैं कि नहीं है. कौन कौन सी 4 चीज़ें? अंडरस्टैंडेबिलिटी. ऑब्वियसली द अकाउंट्स दैट आई एम मेकिंग शुड बी अंडरस्टैंडेबल. मैं एक बहुत सुंदर अकाउंट्स बनाऊं लेकिन जो उनको यूज़ कर रहा है उसको समझ में ना आए तो फिर ऐसे अकाउंट्स का क्या फ़ायदा. सो नंबर 1 इज़ अंडरस्टैंडेबिलिटी. नंबर 2, रिलेवेंस. रिलेवेंस टू व्हाट? Relevance to decision making. That means information that I am providing should be such that the person is able to take a decision. Reliability. Need not explain any further. So whatever information I am giving in the accounts, they must be also reliable. And finally, comparability. So what is the meaning of comparability? Comparability has got 2 meanings. Number 1, my current year's performance, I should be able to compare with the last year's performance. That is number 1. And therefore, the financials that I am making got to have 2 years numbers. Number 2, the financials that I am making should also be comparable with other entities in the industry. That is the second purpose. That means what? And that is the purpose for, that is the reason as to why we have the standards, so that all the entities make similar kind of similar kind of accounts. In case of relevance, मटीरियलिटी इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट. देखो बहुत सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन हम डाल सकते हैं लेकिन अगर वो मटीरियल नहीं है और रिलेवेंट नहीं है तो उसको डालने में कोई मतलब नहीं है. रिलायबिलिटी, हाउ विल वी डिसाइड द रिलायबिलिटी? रिलायबिलिटी विल बी डिटरमिन्ड बेस्ड ऑन 5 थिंग्स. नंबर 1, फेथफुल रिप्रेजेंटेशन. सो जो भी इंफॉर्मेशन दे रहे हैं इट शुड बी गिवन फेथफुली. सब्सटेंस ओवर फॉर्म. क्या मतलब है? सब्सटेंस ओवर फॉर्म का क्या मतलब है? सब्सटेंस ओवर फॉर्म का मतलब है कि जिस तरीके से दे रहे हैं वो ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है. क्या ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है कि क्या दे रहे हैं. right? So ultimately, it's whatever information is being given in the accounts, it has to serve a purpose, and that is substance over form, neutrality, of course you can understand, prudence and completeness. So these are the drivers, friends, in while preparing the accounts as based on the Ind AS. What are the components of financial statements as per the Ind AS? Not that we do not know as to what are the components of financial statements, being the accounting and finance professional, we always already know. But under the Ind AS, the same financial statements have been slightly reconfigured. Uh, they are reconfigured significantly under the IFRS, but under the Ind AS they have not been refigured so significantly. So the first is balance sheet, and just for your knowledge, Ind AS, under the Ind AS we call it balance sheet. Under the IFRS it is called as statement of financial position. The profit and loss statement, under the Ind AS we call it a statement of profit and loss. Under the IFRS, the same thing is known as statement of comprehensive income. Then you have a cash flow statement, which is same in both the cases. Then you have notes to the accounts, which is again same in both the cases. Then you have another new statement coming in under the Ind AS, and this new statement is statement of changes in equity, SOCI. So under the old Indian GAAP, you will only have the balance sheet and P&L and the cash flow statement. Under the Ind AS, besides these three statements, you have the one more statement, that is statement of changes in equity. So which means this statement specifies as to during the year what are the kind of changes that have taken place in the equity of the shareholders and on what account. So these are the components of financial statements, friends, which I'm sure all of us need to be aware. Then what is the meaning of complete set of financial statements as per Ind AS? अब देखिए, as per the Ind AS, not only you have to follow all the indices to call yourself as an Ind AS compliant entity. So as per the Ind AS, not only you have to follow all the indices in order to be referred as or called as Ind AS compliant entity, but when you are doing it first time, you also have to make a statement, a clear statement saying that the entity has fully complied with all the indices. Only when you make a statement like this in your accounts, then only your accounts will be considered to be Ind AS compliant and not otherwise. This is the mandatory requirement. Now, what will comprise of the complete set of financial statements? So when an entity, when you are making accounts based on the Ind AS, that means what all you will need to have so as to be referred or so as to be called as Ind AS compliant entity. So there are 9 things that you need to do. Number 1, you have to have the balance sheet as at the end of the period, in which so you have to have the balance sheet as a balance sheet. You have to have the statement of profit and loss for the period. Now this statement of profit and loss will be having 2 parts, and that is it will have the profit or loss, and it will have other comprehensive income. And that means certain transactions which are of the gain or loss to the entity, and such gains and loss, really speaking, are not frozen, they are more tentative. Now these losses and gains these losses and gains first will need to be recorded in the other statement of other comprehensive income, OCI. Only after they become frozen, then they will be reclassified and taken to the P&L. So that is the second statement that we need to remember. Third statement that we need to have is SOCI, and that is statement of changes in equity. We will need to have the statement of cash flow, notes to accounts, and of course comparative information. That means we will not only need to have the information relating to this financial year, but we will also need to have these numbers and the other informations pertaining to the last year also. And that is point number 6. And point number 7, which is the last point. So totally you need 7 things for you to be referred as Ind AS compliant entity. And the 7th thing is a balance sheet as at the beginning of the preceding period. So remember friends, and this is what is very very important. So जब किसी company को first time Ind AS becomes mandatory, then what happens? Then this company will have to have 3 balance sheets. How 3 balance sheet? Let's say for example, for an entity, the Ind AS is becoming mandatory from 1st April 20, right? So the Ind AS is becoming mandatory from 1st April 20. So the first year, the first accounting year under Ind AS will be from 1st April 20 to 31st March 21. That is the first year. So obviously this year's financials will be based on the Ind AS. But remember, as per the requirement, you also need to have comparables which are also based on the Ind AS. That means what? That means the financials for the financial year 1920, which is the year just finished, उस साल के accounts भी दोबारा से लिखे जाएंगे as per the Ind AS, because then only you can have the last year's numbers comparable with the current year's number. Not only that friends, please remember, if you have to draw the last year's, that is 1920s financials as per the Ind AS, that means your opening balance sheet for 1st April 19, that is your opening balance sheet for 1st April 19 will need to be as per the Ind AS. Why? Because the balance sheet of 31st March 19 is based on the old GAAP. And if you are using the balance sheet which is based on the old GAAP, that balance sheet cannot work for drawing the account financials of 1920 under the Ind AS. So therefore, the balance sheet of 1st April 2019 will need to be redrawn as per the Ind AS. Then only you will be able to redraw the financials of 1920 as per the Ind AS. So basically what we are saying is that when for a company the Ind AS becomes mandatory, in that year this company will have to have 3 balance sheet. A balance sheet for the year, financial year when the first time the Ind AS became mandatory, previous years because the comparables have to be as per the Ind AS, and then the opening balance sheet of the preceding year so that it could be used for drawing the financials which are based on the Ind AS. So that is what you need to remember. And additionally, a balance sheet as at the beginning of the preceding period when an entity applies accounting policy retrospectively. So agar koi company subsequently also, if they apply an accounting policy retrospectively or make a retrospective statement of item as per Ind AS 8, then in such cases also, so it is not necessary that only when an entity is becoming only when Ind AS is becoming mandatory first time, it's not only in that case an entity has to prepare a balance sheet of 3 years. No, in case subsequently also, agar if the entity is applying an accounting policy retrospectively or making a retrospective restatement of certain items as per Ind AS 8, in such cases also this entity will have to have 3 balance sheet. So balance sheet of the current year, balance sheet of the last year, and the balance sheet of the first day of the last year, which is 1st April 2019 or whatever it may be. So friends, so these are the 7 statements that will form the complete set of financial statements as per Ind AS 1. So what are the general features of financial statements? Fair presentation and compliance with Ind AS. It has to be on going concern basis, accrual basis, materiality and aggregation, offsetting, consistency, frequency. it has to be minimum once in a year, and the comparative. So these are the general features which I have discussed with you already. Let us now look at, friends, the boundaries of the index as such. तो अब देखिए आपके सामने स्क्रीन पर you can see all put together there are 39 indices. 39 indices. Out of these 39 indices, 14 of them can be grouped as presentation and disclosure related standards. 15 of them can be classified as standards which are connected, which relate to the balance sheet and the profit and loss. And 10 of these standards, as you can see when you are looking at the screen, will be relating to the consolidation. So number one, what we need to remember, all put together today there are 39 standards which are mandatory as per the index, and out of these 39 standards, for our understanding, we can regroup them as presentation and disclosure, balance sheet and P&L, and consolidation, as you can see them on the screen. Now, इसमें से let me simplify it further, friends, for you. Now, it's not that all 39 standards are mandatory, are applicable to all the entities. It is not so. So, really speaking, there are certain minimum standards which are applicable to all the entities, and that means as far as the presentation is concerned, 10 standards are applicable to all the entities. So, Index 1, which is on presentation of financial statements, Index 7, statement of cash flow, Index 8, accounting policies, changes in accounting estimates and errors, Index 10, events after reporting period, Index 24, related party disclosures, Index 32, financial instruments, presentation, Index 33, earning per share, Index 34, interim financial reporting, Index 107, financial instruments, Index 113, fair value measurement. So these 10 standards will be applicable to each and every entity in this country to whom index have become mandatory as far as the presentation is concerned. Likewise, Index 2 relating to the inventories, Index 12 income taxes, Index 16 property, plant and equipment, Index 19 employee benefits, Index 23 borrowing costs, Index 36 impairment, Index 37 provisions and the contingencies, Index 109 financial instruments, Index 115 revenue from contracts with customers. Now these 9 standards that relate to the financial position and the P&L are applicable to all the entities, and I'm sure you can notice it, you can feel it, and you can see it. And as far as the consolidation is concerned, Index 101, which is index on the first time adoption, is going to be mandatory and applicable to all the entities. Incidentally, friends, any one of you who would like to have a copy of these presentations to be sent them to them on WhatsApp, you can, I will share my WhatsApp number in the end, at the end. You can send me a WhatsApp message requesting for a copy of this presentation, and I would be very happy to share the same with you, because if it is going to help you, I will definitely feel very happy about it. Now these are the standards which are not applicable to all the entities, which are applicable only in certain specific situations. Let's say, for example, Index 29, which is on financial reporting in hyperinflationary economies. It will not be applicable. It will be applicable only if the entity is in the hyperinflationary economy. Likewise, Index 40, which is on investment property, will be applicable only to an entity which has got investment property and not otherwise. And likewise, you have the IFRS 104, which is on insurance contracts. So it is going to be applicable only to those entities which are to whom the insurances are applicable. So these are, there are all 4 plus 19 standards. 19 standards that you see on the screen are to be applied, not in all the cases. 20 standards that we saw a little while ago are applicable to all the entities. So really speaking, friends, those of you who really wish to delve into So really speaking, those of you who wish to delve into the indices, what you need to do is you need to focus only those first 20 standards that I've spoken about, because ultimately that is what is required. So कहने का क्या मतलब है? कहने का मतलब ये है कि हमारा काम आधा हो जाता है. हमको 39 के 39 स्टैंडर्ड्स को समझने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, हमको सिर्फ 20 स्टैंडर्ड्स को समझने की ज़रूरत है. और 20 स्टैंडर्ड्स आउट ऑफ 39, दैट मीन्स आवर जॉब इज़ रिड्यूस बाय 50%. सो काम शुरू करने से पहले अगर आपका आधा काम हो जाए ख़त्म, इससे ज़्यादा और आपको क्या चाहिए? सो focus on those 20 standards. Remember friends, in terms of career, I can tell you, if you decide to specialize in Indes, you have a phenomenal future. Indes hold tremendous potential for career growth. And why do I say Indes hold tremendous potential for career growth? Because in the whole country, in the whole world, there are very few people who can literally be counted on the fingertips who are authority in indices. And therefore, if you decide, it will take time. So it's not that it is something that you will be able to achieve in a month or 2 months or 6 months. It might take a year or more. But once you gain that confidence of being an expert in index, you will get tremendous amount of value, not only from India, but also from outside India. Now friends, in this slide that you see on the screen, you would see that many of these standards, I have marked them in red. And why have I marked them in red? I have marked them in red because these are the standards in which case fair value measurement will be necessary. So these are the standards that would require fair value measurement. Those of you who incidentally are also registered valuer providing valuation services, this slide is of specific significance for you, specific use for you, because ये जो red marked standards हैं जो आप screen पे देख रहे हैं, ये सारे के सारे standards के under that those entities need to have the valuation done from a registered valuer because of the fair value measurement requirement. So this is what you may like to take note of. Then friends, as I said earlier, a company to be called as fully compliant with the index has to make an explicit and unreserved statement confirming compliance with the standard. I have shared it with you, but I am just repeating. The formats of the statements, these are the information which will need to be there as part of the asset side of the balance sheet, and these are the information that will need to be part of the equity and the liability side of the balance sheet, and all this is available to you in Schedule 3 to the Companies Act in much detail in any case, and that's why I'm recommending that you must go through Schedule 3 of the Companies Act. And this is your statement and profit and loss, concept of comprehensive income, friends. So this is how. So these are your statements. So balance sheet, equity and liability side, and profit and loss. Profit and loss, friends, as I said earlier, will have two components. One is profit and loss, and second is other comprehensive income. As I said earlier, other comprehensive income, certain income will first need to be recorded through OCI, because they are still not, the finality has not taken place. Only when the finality of these income has taken place, then you reclassify them from OCI and take them to the P&L, and that's your profit and loss statement. These are the information that will be part of the OCI. So changes in revaluation surplus will be through OCI. Actuarial gain and losses on defined benefit plans through OCI. Gain or losses from translating financial statements of foreign operations through OCI. Gain or losses on remeasuring of available for sale financial assets through OCI. Effective portion of GL on hedging instruments in a cash flow hedge, again through OCI. So friends, this is all that I thought I would share with you in 1 hour's time. Though of course we have today exceeded our time by 4 minutes, but I thought let me give you a comprehensive view of how to implement indices in any entity to which indices have become mandatory. I hope this session would have been useful to you. As I said earlier, all these sessions are available on the portal of Pune Business School of Pimpri Chinchwad Education Trust. Please do visit them, and you can view all these sessions, not only of today but also of the past. So friends, with this we come to the close of the session, and I would hand it over back to Professor Rishikesh. Rishikesh, over to you. Thank you so much.